Hello and welcome back to the Nature of Code in Rust. This time we're going to be going through the introduction example 2, which we take a look at the chapter is this. It's a random number distribution to sort of visualize how the random numbers are distributed across across everything. So what we have here is an arbitrary size box, but 20 of these sort of like rectangles, and then they grow depending upon what the random number that's given to it. So for example, if the random number is 0, it comes in here, and if it's 19, it increases that by 1 pixel, and it just runs as fast as possible. So that's what we're going to build. Let's head on over to our code. I have in the repository created a template project that gives us the ability to just get things started really quickly. I've actually got this all copied over from the template. So this is gonna be nature of code in Rust. This is I.2. All right, let's go ahead and get ourselves going. If we want to build something, let's go ahead and show what our size is. It is going to be 1920 by 1080 is what I've got by default here. If I wanted to get 20 sort of rectangles going across here, let's see, 1920 divided by 20 of them. Well, if I divide it by 10, that would be what, 182 pixels across? And then multiply, let's just use a calculator. 20 divided by 20. 96 pixels per square width-wise. And of course, we're going to be incrementing height, just fine. So I think what we're going to want is some kind of vector that's 20, size 20. So let's actually set that up. We're going to have the vector of like the random number distribution. So random numbers, you're going to be a vector of, this can be, I think you're going to have to be F32s, because if I want to just directly have the height be equal to this, then unfortunately we're going to have to set that up. Now the width of each of the rectangles, so you can call this like the rectangle width. You're going to be an F32 as well, and we kind of know what you're going to be to begin with. So let's just we can actually set this as a const. So const, we can just make this the rectangle width here, can't we? You're going to be an F32, and you're going to be equal to, what did I decide it was? 96? And I don't even need this at all. We just have the random numbers. We have the width. Spelling is not my forte today, apparently. All right, there we go. So we have our rectangle width. That's going to be 96. I want to do that calculation again. What is it? 1920 divided by 20, 96. Okay, I was correct. I'll just leave that in the background. Okay, so we have the random numbers that we're going to sort of collect in here. A mesh. Do we care about this mesh? Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to be creating the meshes every single time. And because of that, I might want to have a vector of meshes, and we can update this in the update loop. So we can create the meshes then, and then the draw is just drawing it out. So we can have the meshes be also a vec of mesh. So we can have our random numbers come in here. This is actually going to be the heights. So to get that, and especially if we want some kind of generative range that we're creating from, we're going to have to pull in our RNG, which is going to be a random number generator from the rand crate. Go ahead and pull in the latest one. 083 is what I'm using. We'll go ahead and let Rust Analyzer do its thing, check through cargo, recompile, figure out what it needs, so I can use auto completion here. Here we go. We want thread range. That's what we're going to be storing there. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this up. Also, we're going to need to pull in mesh so we know about that. All right, so to begin with, that our heights is going to be equal to a new vector. And I think what I can do is create a new vec. Can actually do it this way, where I just say this is going to be an F32. Actually, it's going to be zeros, but I want 20 of them. Let's see. We also have the meshes. Meshes is going to be equal to a new vector. We can have this be empty, and we'll just go ahead and place it in. Ooh, but we kind of want like some kind of mesh to go in here. We can create one and it will copy all the way through. I don't know if we can very easily that way. Let's see what we can do here. We may have to do like a mesh builder. And instead of that, we can do a rectangle, our mode. So this is draw mode, fill. Our bounds, this is going to be a rect. Also this draw mode, we need to pull that in too. Okay, so a new rectangle, this is going to give us our like the X and the Y. So if I just say this is like 0.0, we don't really care about this. We're just using it to create a basic rectangle. We can make this any color we want. Make you white for right now. Let's see, what else do we need in here? I don't think anything else in the rectangle. So then we can build. What do we need? So mesh builder new, that opens. It's open, close. Okay, so white. Color, okay, so then itself, so then we can build you. And the context, question mark that, and then we can say we want 20 of you. This also means we do need to pull in, we need to rename that. And okay, so it's not complaining, which means we should have a vector of meshes. It's just a very basic mesh, and then we'll be overwriting those in the update. Then we have our heights. And what else do we need? Oh, our RNG. Let's go ahead and create that too. That RNG equals thread range. I think, what is it? Thread. There we go. That gives us our RNG. Then we'll go ahead and just bring these in. So heights, meshes, and we have our RNG. All right, perfect. So now in our update, well, let's say we wanted to just draw like one of these out. Let's say this was 0, 0. Maybe you're like 10 width. and 10 height. Actually, we know what the width is going to be. It's going to be this rectangle width. So if we do that, and then I want to in draw here, we're going to do a graphics draw, pass it that context, pass it the drawable. So this is going to be a reference to self dot meshes of position 0, the draw params. We don't really, okay, that's going to be fine there. We'll just create a new one. We question mark you, and we're going to run you. There's our sort of rectangle, white rectangle there. It's not necessarily the best color for this. It does make me wonder if I like want to use something else. There's sort of like gray in this this example that we have here. We can easily do that too. If I wanted the black outlines across them, I would need to create a second mesh, and then basically a rectangle mesh, but instead of draw mode fill, it would be a draw mode stroke, which might be just fine too. But all right, so we have this rectangle width. We need to place it according to where it's going to be, which is essentially the index multiplied by whatever this is. So in our update loop, we're going to want to loop through all of our meshes and then put them in the correct location, at least width-wise. Also, like, we're going to want to put them, you know, the correct location, like at the bottom of the screen too. So let's do that. We're going to do a self dot meshes. We can intermute these. We're going to enumerate, which is going to give us the index. And then we can do a for each. We can actually do this as a try for each. And this is going to give us the index and the mesh itself. And we're going to want to, we should be able to return you. Okay, I will actually want that. Okay, so what do we want to do here? For each of these meshes, we're going to create a new mesh and put them in there. We might as well actually create two meshes, shouldn't we? So let's do like let new mesh equals to mesh builder new. We'll do a rectangle. Okay, so our mode, we can do, let's do the square first, and then we'll do the outline second, so that way it shows up on top of it. Because I believe that's the order in which it draws, is the order that we place it here. I want to say top to bottom too. Okay, so we're going to do a draw mode fill bounds. This is going to be that rect. Our x. So where is that going to be? That our x is going to be basically 0 times our index. No, our index times the width. So it's going to be the index as an F32 times the rectangle width. And then the y, our y is going to be, we want it all the way down to the bottom minus whatever the height of this is going to be. So that's going to be, well, we need the entire height of the window, don't we? So we can actually get that up here. So let width height equals, we're going to need context here. Graphics, drawable size, pass it that context. That gives us, let's actually rename these to screen width and screen height. Now I can have this be the screen height But then I want to subtract some arbitrary amount. But I guess it's not really the arbitrary amount. I want to subtract this specific amount for this rectangle. Now I have the index here, so I can actually reach into the heights and grab that specific height. So we're starting with 0. Let's actually make you all like 5. Man, let's do 50 to begin with. That way we can see these out here. So we're going to do self.height of position index. Okay, so that should give us rect new. So we have the x and the y. Then we need the width and the height. So the width is going to be that rectangle width, and then the height is going to be that self.heights of position index. Then after this, that gives us a new rectangle. We need, oh, the color. What color do we want to create this? We can make it white for now, but I think we're going to want to make it something a little bit more interesting. We could even give each one a random color. That could actually be fun. Okay, so then we can build you and the context, and we'll do that. That should give us you. What are you upset about? Cannot borrow self as immutable because it's also borrowed as mutable. Okay, so try for each, intermute. I don't want the real thing. So we have new. Is it the mesh? And I'm perfectly fine with us like cloning the mesh. We don't really care about, because we're just gonna reach in and like take over this. So self.meshes, intermute. We can even take ownership and like replace the self.meshes every single time. I mean, that would be fine too. Yeah, second borrow occurs due to self-enclosure. So basically, as we're going through and looping over and over and over again, it's this specific, like, self is being grabbed. So self heights index. Yeah, getting this information is not going to work out for us quite the way we wanted it to. I wonder if I switch to just a standard for loop, I think we're going to run into the same exact problem. I think we're going to run into the same problem because we, oh yeah, because we're looping through stuff that meshes. If I just do a normal loop through, okay, let's try this. Let's do a normal loop. We're going to do for index in 0 ... self dot. It doesn't really matter what this is, but we can just do meshes dot length. We all know what they are, but because I'm not borrowing this, I'm just grabbing self out, so that should be fine. Let's go ahead and turn it okay, so that will make that happier. Then we can figure out like what the height is for each of these, so that our height is going to be equal to self.heights index. We have the width of each one, and we have like maybe the start x is going to be, what is this going to be? It's going to be the rectangle, the index as an F32 times the rectangle width, and then I think we're ready to create our rect. So our rect is going to be equal to rect new. Okay, so where are we going to put this? This is going to be our start x. The y is going to be the screen height. You can actually make this a start y too. It's going to be the screen height. minus the height. Okay, so our start y, the width and the height. So rectangle width and then our height. Okay, so that gives us a rectangle, and I think we can create our mesh now. All right, so we'll do a draw mode fill. Our bound is going to be the rect, and the color, we can just make this white for right now. We'll build you, pass it in the context, and there we go. We got our mesh. But let's add in another rectangle. This is going to be a draw mode stroke. We're going to give it a 2.0 stroke. Our bound is going to be the same rect, and then the color, we can make this black, and then we'll just sort of build it the same. Then we're going to replace the mesh inside of self. So we're going to do self.meshes of index equals this mesh. Yeah, so it doesn't really complain about this anymore. It was specifically having to use the self inside of the loop when we're dealing with here, of grabbing inside of the variable, the vectors. That was what was causing our problem. Okay, so let's continue down here. Let's actually draw these out. So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to loop through. So for index and 0, we can actually just draw, because we just have the meshes, right? So for mesh in self.meshes, we don't need ownership of this, so you can be a reference to that. Let's give ourselves some space around here. I want to do our graphics draw and the context and the mesh, and then we're going to do basically default draw params. We don't really care about the rest of this. All right, let's go ahead and see what this ends up looking like. Each of these should be around 50 pixels tall and should have, nice, a sort of a black border around them. Now, if I were to make these, we can make them completely different colors too, like a completely random colors. That might be interesting. So if we want to do that, we're going to need another vector of maybe colors. So a vec of color. And we're going to need RNG. Let's just bring in RNG a little bit higher. And then we can actually use this. So you're going to be immutable. In order to use RNG, we need it to be immutable for us here. And then we can create our colors. So now I can't necessarily do it the same trick way that I did before. So instead, I'm going to create a mute colors equal to just an empty vector. They're going to for loop. We do need the index in 0.20. It's going to need to be usize, but it's going to figure out what this is when I use it here. So we're going to do a colors of, let's do a random color first. Random color, it's going to be equal to color. Now, it just needs this to be like numbers between 0 and 1, and I think that's fine, except I can also do this from RGB. And then it's U8s, which is between 0 and 255. Yeah, 0 through 255. The alpha is fixed to 255, which I think is fine. I don't like zeros. All zeros is going to be black. I don't actually want things to be too terribly dark for us. So let's actually, we're going to do rng.genRange. It should figure out the type here. I don't want it to be too dark, so let's set this something like 200 through 255. If I take this, now we're going to get a completely random color. And it's going to be decently bright. The import use so that you can actually do the thing. And then here's our, oh, we have a random colors. Let's actually push that in. Now it knows it's a vec of colors, and then we can add in colors. Oh yeah, we're not even using index here, so I can just underscore that. Then down here where we're setting what the color is going to be, we can actually figure out that color here. Color is going to be self dot colors of index. So I want the outline to be black still, but this one is going to be the color, the actual main body. Let's go ahead and run this again and sort of see what that ends up looking like. And now we have a bunch of pastel colors sort of all across. And it looks like it's going evenly across. Okay, everything is looking pretty good. So if I set the heights to be 0 now. So our heights can be 0.0. There's going to be 20 of them. Every time that we go through our update, we want to update the heights now. We want to do this before we add to the meshes. So in here, let's create a random number between 0 and I guess it's 19 inclusive because it's that index. So we're going to do the random index is going to be between, let's see, it's self dot rng dot gen range, and our range is going to be between 0 and self dot heights dot length. That's going to give us a U size there, and then we want to just say self dot heights of random index plus equals to 1. There is no plus plus in Rust, so we do have to do this plus equals. Cannot add a size. Oh, it's 1.0. All right, and that should then give us the appropriate height. Let's go ahead and take care of some of these warnings. Okay, none of those anymore. Oh, because I opened up cargo lock by accident. All right, so absolutely no problems. Let's go ahead and run this and sort of like see how it feels. And here's our random assortment of numbers. We can see them, like they're coming in exactly like we saw on a website. It is a fairly good distribution across. And every time we run this, it will be random, and we will have no idea which one actually finishes, like actually has the most. But that is the random distribution example from Nature of Code. I'll go ahead and let this rise to the top and then close down the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.